tracking Hurricane Michael this afternoon, or this morning, I should say, 32 more minutes of it here on WDHN News 18. This is Westgate Parkway, actually the Honeysuckle Road side of it, at West Main Street. So curfew is approaching. You got 30 minutes before curfew cuts off in the Dothan area, and that shot appears to be changing here. We're taking a look at the roadways. Our camera's on top of the billboard, and so in this area. We got a couple of things we want to do here. We're going to kick it around the horn. Let's go to Scott Roberts, who is out behind the station right now. We want to show you conditions that are deteriorating. Scott, what does it look like out there right now?
Ben, right now we are starting to see some pretty intense rain. The winds are starting to pick up a little bit more than earlier. Just a few minutes ago we had the shot just outside of here. The trees are starting to blow around a little bit at times. I can certainly hear the leaves rustling a lot more off in the distance for us, and this is just a sign of things to come for us. We're going to see more of these feeder bands, just like we are dealing with right now, coming into the area. So if you're not seeing the gusty winds, the heavy rain coming into your area just yet, just in a matter of less than an hour, probably half an hour or so, you're going to be dealing with it. The entire Wiregrass will be dealing with deteriorating weather conditions right now. And yeah, things are starting to really get a little bit rough for us, and just a sign of things to come. Further to the south, you are going to see those conditions deteriorate a lot sooner. That's it for now. I'm going to come inside in the safety of the studio, and the dry studio.
All right, very good. Thank you, Scott. Thorndale is a street in Dothan. We got a tree down, so here we go. This is I don't want to call it game time, but this is the business section of the day right now, and so we are of course encouraging you to get to your safe plan, and I think have we made landfall? Is this the breaking news? Let's talk to Griffin here for a second too.
Making landfall. I would say within the next 30 to 35 minutes, the storm is going to be making landfall. There you see it right there. That is a very telling satellite picture. This is a high-end Category 4 storm, something that the Florida Panhandle has never seen in the history of record keeping since 1851. Florida Panhandle has never seen a landfall in Category 4 storm. So this is, to say the least, a very storm of historic proportions. Zooming in a little bit closer, the eye wall of the storm, the strongest part of the storm, is literally right on top of Panama City Beach as we speak, and that is where the winds are at their strongest, on the order of 115 to 130 miles per hour, with stronger gusts likely with the storm. And with the latest advisory package, the maximum sustained winds were up to 150 miles per hour, and that is enough to cause substantial structural damage along the coastline. And fortunately, we're far enough inland so that the storm is going to weaken before it makes its way up into the Wiregrass part of our region. So luckily, we're not going to be seeing the brunt end of these impacts as Michael comes ashore. Here's the latest live action radar, and this thing is mean looking. Everything that you see there in red on radar, that is where the major hurricane force winds are. So we're talking about winds in excess of 110 miles per hour or greater, and to say the least, this is going to be devastating for this part of the state of Florida. This is going to be, it's making a beeline right towards Panama City, basically right in line with what the National Hurricane Center has been forecasting for the past couple of days. And then let's, sure, go ahead.
We've got a camera where we can see. Let's switch over to that real fast.
So there's a live picture.
Look at these waves. Holy cow.
Yeah, those are pretty big waves.
This is probably some of the last images we'll get out of Panama City.
Yes.
And so that's why I wanted to jump on this.
Another fear that I have is not just the cameras going down, but the radar sites going down. You know, these are not indestructible by any means, and the radar site itself is, I would say, maybe about there you see that little white dot on the screen there. That is the radar site.
And the camera's gone. It just went down.
Camera just went down. Yeah. That's not surprising. So we got the brunt end of the storm. It's coming into Panama City Beach. So we'll have to be wary of this next radar site going down. But the good news is we've got backup radar sites. We've got 2 other sites that we can use as backup. We're fortunate that we have those 3 sites that are nearby, and of course we're going to have to rely on those should this closest one go down. And let me pause the radar here and see exactly how close to landfall we are. There's Panama City right there, the center of the storm, now about 25 miles offshore, and with a movement of around, I guess it's 12 to 13 miles per hour. We should at least see it within the hour, more than likely.
Yeah. One thing that we do need to consider, that northeasterly movement.
That's true.
It is going to be brushing just on the southeastern side of Panama City. So I think with this movement, that trajectory is going to take it more in the direction of the Air Force Base down there. So either way, Panama City is going to be getting the full blunt force of Category 4 strength winds coming through within the next, if not starting now, but within the next 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe even a little bit less for some locations.
And this is sort of reminiscent of Hurricane Andrew, where those really intense winds are confined to a relatively small space, because the measured wind gusts that we've seen come in are on the order of 80 to 90 miles per hour. Those are coming in from places like Apalachicola, which are not too far away. Ben, I'll go ahead and toss it back to you.
All right, thank you, guys. A couple of housekeeping things I want to do, because we want to really dedicate our coverage to landfall coming up within the next few minutes here. Sarah Drake spoke with Sheriff Donald Valenza downtown at the Emergency Operations Center, and let's get that report very quickly about curfew.
Here with Sheriff Valenza, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the curfew that's going into effect. So can you talk about what time that's going into effect and why y'all placed it?
Well, Chief Parrish and I was talking. It's really a safety issue. It's going to take effect at 12 noon. It's a safety issue because we are going to be tied and extremely busy with calls, probably rescue type calls, once the storm comes in. And you really have no business being out unless you have an emergency, or if you do have business, that's fine. If you're going to work, and not many places are open, but there are some. We ask you, please don't get out on the road. We're going to be in a serious rescue type mode shortly, and we just ask for y'all's support. Curfew will be, asking you stay off the roads until further notice, so we can go do our job.
All right, perfect. So you heard it. Stay off the roads and stay safe. Hey, guys.
All right, Sarah Drake, thank you so much for standing by with Sheriff Donald Valenza in downtown Dothan at the Emergency Operations Center. We're going to kick it over to Scott and Griffin. Guys, it's about 11:35. If you can carry us till about 12 o'clock, take you a break if you need to. But landfall is imminent of the storm, and so we're going to get you with the professionals who can track this historic moment for the Southeast.
Yeah, no doubt about it, historic, and I know you've been talking about, generationally, people will be talking about this storm for years, and without a doubt, things around here are going to look very different tomorrow morning as far as the scenery, trees down. There might even be some parts of buildings missing, things that you've grown accustomed to, especially down at the coast. There's going to be big changes there, and the physical coastline with a storm like this often does change, where you can end up with islands where you didn't have an island before, or things might just disappear as far as the actual physical coastline and stuff like that. So let's start talking about the particulars on the actual storm at the moment with Hurricane Michael. It is a very powerful storm, just shy actually of Category 5 strength. We've been talking about the extremely strong winds with the storm as it is coming on shore. And if you look at the satellite imagery, that eye wall is pretty much starting to cross over, and they're dealing with the full force of this storm. Panama City, Tyndall Air Force Base, Port St. Joe, they're going to be getting in on that action as well. There we go. There's the advisory. This is from 10 o'clock. The next one will be coming out at 1. As far as the main thing that we're relying on these advisories for right now, because the thing's coming on shore pretty much right now.
Yes.
Just going to be more about the exact location of things, which will give us a better idea of what we can expect in our area. We've been talking about the left side versus the right side of the storm, Griffin, and according to the latest projections from the Hurricane Center in Miami, going to take a little bit closer,
right, which is good.
Right, but they're projecting a little bit stronger than initially thought. Category 2 strength by, that plot is this evening at 8 o'clock. That's the expectation of winds in excess of 100 miles per hour. And that's not just in the shaded blue area of the cone. This thing does have a fairly large wind field with it.
That's true. Yeah, that cone is used to convey the uncertainty of the forecast, and that's very low. Obviously,
Of the center of the storm.
that's yes, correct. And the impacts, of course, are going to extend beyond that cone, well into our northern tier of counties near places like Troy and Eufaula, up in Pike and Barber counties. And like you've talked about, the strength overall has increased in dramatic fashion. You know, 72 hours ago, this was a tropical depression, and it's a borderline Category 4, Category 5 storm now with winds of 150 miles per hour, and conditions can change very rapidly, and that's exactly what we've seen here, is that the intensity has gone up so dramatically that it really just tells us we need to be ready to hunker down.
Exactly.
And for now, just make sure you're off the roads.
Yeah, that's going to be the safest thing for you going forward at this point, as things are going to be really deteriorating for us this afternoon. We'll take a look at the wind speeds to show you an idea of what's going on down there. Now, these are sustained winds. We're seeing wind gusts in excess of hurricane force in the 70 and 80 mile per hour range down at the coast. Sustained for Apalachicola, 62 miles per hour. Likely still gusting even higher a little bit earlier, nearing 80 miles per hour as far as those wind gusts. And there's also a chance that we could actually lose some of the. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry. The
Toss to wish.
Oh, at the shelter. We have a.
Got a reporter from Indianapolis who is positioned.
Brittany Lewis is with us with what's going on at some shelters. Let's go check in with her on what's going on.
Yeah, hey there. So we are at Cornerstone Church, and this is really kind of a hub for people who are in need of shelter. If you are in the Dothan area or surrounding areas, this is where you can come. This is the reception center, and then these folks here will kind of coordinate and let you know where you can go and get shelter. Steve has been working here. He's been kind enough to talk with us about the work they are doing here. So how does this work? If people need shelter, they come here, and then what happens?
So what's been happening is that we're receiving phone calls, and then we give them direction to come to Cornerstone Church here at 2685 John D. Odom. And then from here, once they come here, we'll go ahead and process paperwork, get their address, their phone number, if they've got ID, driver's license, if they're driving a car, get that information, make copies of it, and then we'll save that for a database for all the evacuees. And in addition to that, we'll give them a copy and then send it with them when they go to the approved shelter.
Mm-hmm. And who have you been seeing coming to take advantage of the shelter? People in the area, or people from Florida?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, most of the folks that have been here have been from the local area. We've had a few folks from Florida, but mostly been locally from the area, whether in Dothan or some of the surrounding areas.
Mm-hmm. And how did you guys prepare for something like this?
This is only like our second time doing it, so it's kind of it's a learning experience. So each time we do it, I would expect that we'll learn some things and go change and improve it so that it's a bit more efficient. So, yeah.
What has this been like for you to be working here and to be helping these people who are in need of shelter?
Well, it helps them realize every day how blessed we are to have all the things that we have, and recognize that there are some folks that don't have the things that we have and that need help. And so to reach out and help those folks, it's really the best feeling.
Yeah, I can imagine so. And so what are you seeing in terms of shelters? Are they filling up? Are there some openings? What are you seeing when it comes to that?
So early when we started this morning, we had a couple other churches, Wiregrass Church, First Baptist Church. I believe that they're full now, and we're now reaching out to Memphis Baptist Church. And so others are coming in. There's a couple of centers supposed to open around noontime, but yeah, absolutely. Folks are wondering whether they should come to a shelter. Waiting until the last moment's really not the thing to do. If they want or need shelter, they need to do it now so that they have an assurance that they can get into the shelters, because they are filling up fast.
And how long do you think you will be open here and coordinating with these shelters?
I would expect us to be here at least until about 6 o'clock, but we really will be here as long as the community needs us to be here.
Is there anything else that you want to communicate with people who may be watching about what you're doing, or the message you'd like to get out about shelter?
Yeah, absolutely. If people are seeking shelter, please do it now. Don't wait till the last minute, because waiting till the last minute is when the weather's going to be the worst, and then the shelters are going to be the most full, so there may not even be room for them. So really, if people do need shelter, do it now.
Well, thank you so much for all of that information and for sharing it with us so that we can share it with our viewers. Thank you so much for doing that. And we'll be checking in with them throughout the day and keeping you guys updated on the different shelters and where they are seeing shelters fill up. But for now, we'll send it back to you.
Thanks for that report from the shelters out there in Dothan within Houston County. Just as they were saying, now's the time. If you do feel the need that you're not safe where you are, if you're in a mobile home, now's the time where you can still head out. The curfew, it's not in effect just yet, but we hope that everyone is in their safe place because conditions are going to be getting pretty windy. Very shortly, we're already starting to see some wind gusts nearing tropical storm force here in the Dothan area, the Wiregrass, and further south. Let's take a look at what's going on in the weather computer with our model plots, or actually, excuse me, our wind plots as far as what's going on. Sustained winds, these are the sustained winds, the constant wind that is blowing east at 24 miles per hour in Marianna. For us, a little bit closer to home, 23 miles per hour out of the east-northeast at the airport, northeasterly overall. This is just going to continue to increase as we do head into the lunchtime hour. As far as those wind gusts, that's where the big story is and where a lot of the damage could be from storms like this as they are coming on shore. And of course, that main core of wind is going to be right around that center of circulation, fairly compact overall for the size of the storm, at least in the large scale. But either way, a lot of the area is going to be dealing with the hurricane force wind.
Yeah, and regardless of exactly how fast those wind speeds are going to be, impacts are still going to be the same, likely to have widespread power outages that could last for a couple of days. That's why I've been stressing to make sure you have enough supplies handy for the next couple of days and to make sure that your phone is charged while you still have power, because obviously if you lose the power, you're not going to be able to watch television and get the latest information and warnings should they be issued. And there you see some of those winds getting up to easily hurricane force by around, say, what was that, 4:30?
Yeah, like as we're heading into what would normally be the dinner time hour for us, I'm sure this is going to be disrupting a lot of things across the area. As those winds increase, according to this model, things could be in the hurricane force range for a lot of the area, especially where you do have that purple shading on the map. That's where we do have those greatest winds. And even as we do head into the evening and overnight, those winds are not going to subside much at all. Now in the extreme western part of the area, Crestview, Defuniak Springs into Andalusia, conditions will calm down a little bit sooner, but for us here, we're a little bit closer, unfortunately for us, a little bit closer to where that center of circulation is going to be moving through. It is going to take some time for those winds to really calm, and even as we do head into the next couple of days, it is going to be a breezy stretch of weather as we head into the coming days where we will likely be dealing with cleanup activities with this storm from all the damage. Going to take a look at the broader view. Griffin, why don't you talk us through what we're thinking about with the timing of this and those wind speeds and also the pretty decent threat of having some flash flooding and from all that heavy rain.
We've already seen close to 2 to 3 inches of rain estimated by radar in some of our Florida counties near places like Graceville and Greenwood and Marianna and Jackson County, and the rain's not going to stop for what looks like the next possibly 12 hours. This is going to be a very prolonged event. You see those wind gusts really picking up by around 5:45 here in Dothan, up to 65 miles per hour, and that's when we'll likely see most of the damage come through. That'll be mostly prime time. What we've been saying is prime time, 4 to 7 p.m. That still looks to be ideal. You see the rain start to subside by around 10 o'clock, but the wind still certainly above average, to say the least, in the 40s and 30s eventually as early as tomorrow morning. Still looking at 30-mile-per-hour winds by tomorrow morning at around 7 a.m. So that, like you said, that could make cleanup a little bit difficult out there.
Yeah, that, and also with the heavy rain that we are expecting, we constantly get updates to this on our computer models. Our plot's a little slow to update there, but nearly 8 inches of rain, if not a little bit more for us. That could also hamper some efforts. And tomorrow, heading out on the roadways once things are cleared up, I mean, it's going to be tough going for the next few days as far far as power lines down, trees down, and this is just going to add to it. We do have that flash flooding potential. Thankfully, over the past couple days we've been talking about, this storm does have some forward speed with it, so we're not going to be dealing with Hurricane Florence type of situation where we're going to have just feet and feet and feet of rain, maybe a few spots. Could see a foot of rain, not out of the question, but I think a good safe bet is going to be anywhere between, say, 4 or 5 inches to upwards of maybe 8 or 9 inches on the high end for as far as what we're seeing across the area. And I think we'll...
Yeah, I'll agree with that. You know, I think that's more than likely what we'll be seeing as a baseline across the area. Obviously, locally higher amounts are going to be possible with this because the rain's just going to be going and going for such a long period of time, and it's going to stack up. And again, the best spot where we'd likely run into flooding, or at least the most dangerous spot that we'd run into flooding, is on the roadways. And just can't stress it enough. If you just get stuck on the roads, don't try to drive through standing water, because the water's often a lot deeper than what it actually looks, and that's typically where a lot of weather-related fatalities happen, is on the roadways.
And not only could it be deeper than it looks, it could also be moving faster than it looks.
Yes,
here are
some
estimates of what we are seeing across the area as far as rainfall amounts from Action Radar. Going to get a little bit closer view there so we can see, so we can leave that banner up on the screen. But we're already seeing estimates upwards of 3 and 4 inches of rain for parts of Washington County into Jackson County. Bay County will probably see some of the heaviest rain with this, estimated upwards of getting close to 5 inches just to the southeast of Panama City. Offshore, certainly a lot more where that center of circulation is. And we're going to go back to the actual live scans on Action Radar.
There's a lot of lightning in this.
There certainly is a lot of lightning with this storm, and certainly we can see those heaviest bands of rain coming into the region for us. Here we go.
It's typically rare that you have a lot of lightning in a tropical cyclone like this, because the horizontal motion kind of outweighs the vertical motion in it, but just based on how intense that reflectivity is and how much lightning that we have there, we just have immensely powerful updrafts within the center of this storm, and that's clearly indicated by all of these lightning strikes that you see showing up here surrounding the eye of the storm and the eye wall.
Yeah, and according to Action Radar, rainfall estimates as far as rates would be upwards of 2 inches per hour. So extrapolating that out over, say, 6 hours of this, that's why we do have the possibility of having some locations getting upwards of a foot of rain or more with this. And right in here, that eye wall, that is just offshore right now. Let's go back to the graphics full screen so we can get a better look at what the situation down at the coast. Mexico Beach getting in on that action with some of those strongest winds coming in offshore.
It's like Port St. Joe just recorded a gust of 106 miles per hour.
Yeah, there you go. So, and with that eye wall, where actually the eye now just 3 miles offshore, they are in the core of that storm now.
This is it.
This is it. Landfall will be happening imminently, and with this storm being as strong as it is, it does increase the likelihood of us having those hurricane force winds in our area. I'm going to try to find, here we go, our wind field on this storm of what we are seeing from Michael as it is coming on shore. As far as the representation on this map, generally the areas that are in orange, that's where the Hurricane Center is expecting that hurricane force wind field. The major hurricane force wind field is indicated in red, and that's about what we've been seeing. That's about where the eye is on this storm, with that eye wall certainly coming on shore with this.
Yep, that seems to be on target, and you see that orange wind field there. That's more than likely the wind speeds that we are going to be having to deal with, on the order of obviously above 74 miles per hour is possible. That would classify it as hurricane force wind gusts. And roughly that time right there is going to be about
going into the 6 and 7 o'clock hour on this.
Okay, and you see there is still that major hurricane force wind field there. So we can't rule out the possibility of wind gusts on the order of over 100 miles per hour.
Absolutely. And the good news is with this, it's going to be moving away from us as it's approaching. It's already going to be moving away from us, so that's going to limit how long we are going to be in that type of wind field. But nonetheless, this is going to be producing some very strong winds for us. And
very noteworthy storm.
Absolutely. And even as we do head into Thursday, that that storm still going on the map as a tropical storm. You can see that tropical storm force wind field pretty much taking over South Carolina on Thursday, and for us, we'll be dealing with fairly breezy conditions across the Wiregrass with this storm, as it is pretty much coming on shore right now with sustained winds at the center right at 150 miles per hour. Very low pressure on this storm, one of the stronger ones that we've seen in quite some time, and actually fairly historical with that type of pressure.
And it just updated. You see that it just updated. It's now down to 919 millibars.
Yeah.
That was just updated by the National Hurricane Center.
So this could potentially be a little bit stronger as it comes on shore. We'll be tracking it. You're watching WDHN News 18, Dothan, Alabama. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were going to a break. We're going to Mike Gerspan live on the west side of Dothan.
Okay, go ahead. All right, Ben. Well, we are here at the Holiday Inn Express on the Ross Clark Circle. Of course, here in the city of Dothan, the Circle City. And with me right now is Charles Ray Hickman. Mr. Hickman is a resident of Lynn Haven, which, of course, is right neighboring of Panama City. Mr. Hickman, what motivated you, along with your family, to evacuate Bay County and to come up to Dothan?
Well, you know, we were following the news like everybody else, and you know, we've seen that, you know, they've gotten to where they can pinpoint these landfalls so accurately, and we've seen that Panama City was just in the center of that cone, and it looked like it was going to be a Category 3, possibly a Category 4. And we knew that it just wasn't worth the risk, so we decided Monday evening to go ahead and book a room here in Dothan. We're 100 miles inland, so we thought, you know, it would be safe here. We know there's going to be some bad weather, but you know, growing up in Panama City, I've seen the Eloise and also Opal, and we know those weren't direct hits. And this one, I'm just much more worried with the surge, power outages, and the wind. And I've got a family. My wife and my son Ethan and Ziva are here with me. And we just knew that we could drive a few hours and get away from the bulk of that wind and surge.
So it's life. I mean, you know, homes can be replaced, property can be replaced, but it's lives here.
Absolutely. You know, all of our stuff can be replaced. We can't be replaced.
Exactly.
So the most important thing is our safety. So we leave every time there's an evacuation. We just would rather err on the side of caution.
Well, Mr. Hickman, you know, in fact, I was talking to the folks here at the Holiday Inn Express. They had the last room of some 2,600 rooms in Dothan just a few minutes ago. They just filled their last room here, and that is the last room as far as the Circle City is concerned, as far as accommodations at this point. People are now being sent to Birmingham and north of Birmingham as far as evacuees are concerned. So it's that kind of a situation. Michael has made that kind of an impact, and let's just hope that the storm just spares, obviously, lives as well as property itself. All right, Ben, back to you in our WDHN Dothan studios.
Mike Gerspan, thank you so much. Thank you to the fine folks from the Lynn Haven area speaking with you there. Catching up on some messages here. Let's see, we're just kind of following a couple of things. Waiting on landfall to arrive along the Florida Gulf Coast. If you have questions, obviously we're asking you to send those to us, and I'm just going to pull those up here on our Facebook page on the WDHN news page. There is one post that says leave your hurricane-related questions here, and if it requires the expertise of a meteorologist, we will bring one over and get that answered for you. But Hurricane Michael is a big storm right now. We encourage you to do this. You probably might lose power today. There's a good probability of that at your home, and so while you got it and while you can keep your phone charging, let's go ahead and download the WDHN News app, the WDHN Weather app, Those are in the App Store and on Google Play. And let's go ahead and get those downloaded right now so that you can stay up to date and get alerts. And we'll be streaming on our website, WDHN.com, DothanFirst.com, and on both of those apps as well. More power outages being reported. Garden District is seeing some more of those. Also, the Woodland Drive area, large trees down Woodland is impassable right now. That's near Glover Funeral Home in that area, kind of the central of town. Let's see, we've got a video of a house in Pensacola. Is this Panacea? I'm sorry, Panacea, Florida. Let's take a look at this right now and see what kind of video we've got there. Panacea #1. Here we go. And so this is right on the water there. Just moments ago as landfall is approaching, and so this is what it looks like right now. Waves pretty high, a very scary situation for folks down along the Gulf Coast. Let's cut Scott's microphone on real quick.
With this image, what we are also seeing here, that's the storm surge coming on shore. That's probably a rise in the tide of upwards of maybe 5 to 10 feet. It looks like that would normally be part of the beach or part of the property there. You can see the trees there. Trees don't normally grow out of the ocean water there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what we are seeing right here. So I'm glad we did bring up this this image to show that, yeah, this is going to be a very serious situation down there as far as the flooding, saltwater inundation will be coming inland with this. Thankfully, we're far enough on shore that we don't have to worry about that here in the Wiregrass, but so this makes it that much worse for when you're down at the coast. You have the high winds, and then you also have the flooding with these higher than normal tides, and the storm surges coming in with those intense onshore winds. And this storm is producing some of the strongest winds right now that we will be seeing out of the storm, in excess of 150 miles per hour. With this down at the coast weakening as it does come here, but it does increase the likelihood of us having hurricane force winds right here. Ben?
Scott, a couple of questions for you that are coming in. There's just a statement first. Henry County announcing that City of Abbeville will have a curfew at 3 o'clock. So you're going to see that everywhere. And let's just go ahead and make a WDHN curfew of right now.
Yeah. If you're not home already, go home.
Yeah, don't be going anywhere at this point. This is we'll just call it a News 18 curfew and just keep it at the house, friends. We'll take care of the rest from here. Question from viewer Marvel. Marvel is asking about timing Alabama state line, that sort of for the storm. I mean, it's already storming here now, I guess, but
yeah. So as far as the strongest part of the storm coming in, we've been shooting for, like, say, around between 2 and 4 o'clock. Yep. More or less. So that centers at maybe around 3 o'clock with that strongest wind coming in to the southern part of the viewing area first, progressing northward as the storm does move generally in a northeasterly direction, just the center of it just skirting to the south. East of Dothan itself.
This is that camera view that we lost earlier that is back now. So what do you see on this image here at Panama City Beach that really strikes out to you? Obviously big waves.
Yeah, big waves, and they are going to be nonstop. You can really see the winds picking up with the palm trees whipping in the winds sort of right along the banner on our screen there. Just a sign of the things to come as far as what they're dealing with, and this is about the worst of the storm. We will probably lose this camera. You can really start to see it shaking around. Look at the palm trees in the bottom of the screen. Those are winds probably sustained right now, hurricane force, if not close to it, of what we are seeing right now.
Yeah, that's a good indicator there. I was actually not paying attention to that corner there. Guys, let's pull the lower third down for a second and just let folks see that. There we go. There's a better view there. And palm trees are pretty sturdy.
Yeah, they're built for this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fronds instead of leaves.
Yeah, they're designed to break apart. It's basically like a telephone pole with a head of hair on it. It takes a lot for it to blow over, but when it does, it's a sign that it's very, very strong wind.
Note coming in. Someone's saying they've seen reports of a gust at Mexico Beach of 173. True or false?
That seems inaccurate. I don't think it would be that strong.
Yeah, we have seen some stuff. We have a direct line, more or less, with the Tallahassee Weather Service office where all the meteorologists across the region can share information. They disseminate information from their office, from the National Weather Service, through other government agencies through there, and also it gives other meteorologists from the broadcast side of things to the emergency management side of things to share information like that. And as soon as we do start to see stuff like that come into as far as the reports, we will pass that on to you. But right now, the highest we are seeing is nearing 100 miles per hour. But that's not to say that they are not dealing with that. When you're in a situation like this, it's hard to sometimes get that information out in real time.
Gotcha. All right. The power outages are spreading in Panama City. We're actually getting some pretty good, I guess, intel is the word there from the Gulf Coast right now. Our partners at WMBB are pretty busy right now, so they're not able to quite talk to us. Now, what I do want to remind you of, though, is if you go to our website, dothanfirst.com, you can watch our stream on there. You can also keep us on TV. We have WMBB's live stream, Channel 13 out of Panama City is on our website as well. You can watch both of us at the same time.
Yeah, and theirs is really going to be rocking and rolling a lot more, since they are dealing with the full blunt of the storm coming through. And
this is what we would call under the gun, yeah, at this juncture.
Exactly.
And so Chief Meteorologist Justin Kiefer, News Director Tom Lewis at Channel 13. Really, our hearts are with our news partners right now, and just hoping that things are going as well as possibly can along the Gulf Coast. Another live image coming in. This looks like the Pineapple Willie's area. Let's see, Thomas Drive is this area here, and you can see that circle there. That means the camera is kind of retransmitting the signal. The sign down there says, "Wish you were here."
Do they really at this point?
I don't. I wouldn't want to be there right now.
So you'll notice how the water doesn't really appear as high as you would probably expect it, and there's a reason for that. It's because winds, likely in this part of town, are moving parallel to the shoreline, and they're not coming onshore or offshore, really. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. But you see a lot of those waves starting to come in now.
Exactly. So the highest rise in the as far as the storm surge is going to be more toward the Mexico Beach area, on the eastern side of that, where we do have the winds coming onshore. So they will be dealing with a rise in excess of, say, 5 to 10 feet, if not even higher locally with this as it has come through. I want to switch over to our, if we can switch over to the weather computer, just to give you a little bit of a visualization, or try to give you a little bit of visualization of those winds, trying to get something that some of our sources that actually line up with that center of circulation. But basically what we are looking at, going to turn the radar off and the satellite off. You can see that wind field. These are streamlines showing that the path of the winds. You can see the center of circulation is generally right about here. And on the east side of that storm, we do have those winds coming onshore with us, and that's where we do have the chance of having all of those the storm surges really increasing right here, where we do have that stuff coming onshore. Port St. Joe, Apalachicola are all going to be seeing a lot of those highest water levels with that. And as we were just talking about before, on the west side, say Panama City, that wind is moving offshore, so pushing that water away. Sometimes in situations where we do have situations with storms like this, where you have a harbor or something, essentially the bodies of water can basically empty out of water, and then as the winds start wrapping around, that water can rush back into the area. So it's basically a temporary kind of lull with the water as that center moves more to the north. You'll see the rise for Panama City as well, as far as that rise in that the storm surge is what I'm trying to say.
Right. And Luckily, we're not on the coast, so storm surge is not going to be something that we're going to have to deal with. If any sort of flooding does happen to be from the freshwater flooding from the persistent heavy rain that we'll likely see for at least the next, I would say, 10 to 12 hours. The rain's just going to keep on going. And you saw earlier the rainfall amounts will likely be anywhere from 6 to 8 inches at the maximum, but we could have locally higher amounts. You know, it's going to be awfully variable how much rain you see exactly in your location, but still expecting winds on the order of 75 to maybe 85 miles per hour when the core of that storm starts to pass through some of our counties.
Right, and as far as the wind gusts, we could see those pick up even more, and when you get those bursts of wind, that's what can help to really weaken trees and other things to help kind of bring things down, so not what we want to see. Right now, we are going to toss to Ben Stanfield, who's checking out what's going on outside our world headquarters in Webb, Alabama. Ben, what's going on out there? I'm sure it's windy and a little bit wet for you.
Yeah, it is. I stepped out back. We wanted to kind of give you a look at current conditions here. A little bit of sideways rain flowing in with that storm. You have the clouds of the hurricane bands that are essentially, we're in the eastern portion of our viewing area, right? And so you have those storm clouds that are moving from the Georgia area across through Webb, over Dothan, and then back in that circular motion. The rain is following suit. So the direction of the rain is just like this, sideways right now out here. And occasionally when the breeze picks up, it almost feels like it's going upside down. So definitely you don't want to be outside doing a whole lot right now unless you absolutely have to go outside. But you know, pretty calm right now, to be honest with you. It's actually a pretty melodramatic scene here at our studio, and really just I don't want to say peaceful, but we know what's coming. It's just not here yet, and so this is probably one of the lighter times that we'll see for the rest of the day. So, but yeah, the breeze picking up actually as we speak right now. So the rain coming in with that too, and it's just going to continue to do that throughout the day. But overall, I mean, you know, conditions not so bad outside currently on the backside of our studio here.
And we are going to see those winds certainly pick up. Right now on our radar computer source, 20 mile per hour sustained at the airport for us, and even stronger a little bit more down to the south. And we are starting to see a lot of those reports of those wind speeds picking up at the coast. You can see that center's getting ready to cross over. As far as the Air Force Base, the latest advisory as far as sustained winds, 55 miles per hour. We're going to see that increase. They are pretty much in that core of the storm as it is coming on shore, as it is approaching pretty much right now. Let's get the Panama City view on our radar. It's going to load that up. Click the wrong thing there. You can see now that the storm is starting to have that interaction with land, that eye is not as symmetrical as it was. It's starting to get a little bit elongated. That means the storm it is going to be struggling a little bit as it doesn't want to come on shore necessarily, but with storms like this, they sometimes bounce around the coast. Actually, this might be a little bit of a instrumentation issue there, but either way,
we've got multiple radar sites.
Yeah, well, and also I think the one did not update there, which happens sometimes in situations like this. Let's clean this up a little bit. Well, there it is. But either way, the same argument goes. The eyes do not want to come on shore. They are going to want to redevelop where things are a little bit more favorable. But with this generally propagating in the northeasterly direction, that's kind of hard to do simply because of how the orientation of the coast. But I wouldn't want to be in Mexico Beach at the Air Force Base at Panama City. That's where they are dealing with those highest winds, and Port St. Joe as well. And just in, we do, the University of Florida has a mobile weather station set up at Mexico Beach, and they are did record a gust of 130 miles per hour. It's 49 feet up. It's a little bit higher than normal. We usually measure wind about 30 feet up, but nonetheless, you translate that down to the surface, 130 miles per hour, 50 feet up in the air. You're dealing with that at the surface.
Right, yeah, and if you're on the second or third floor of an apartment, you're dealing with that too, and that's part of the reason why in extreme wind events like this, you got to get to the lowest floor of the building. It looks like landfall is going to occur within the next 15 minutes officially. I mean, this thing is going to be crossing right over the Highway 98 corridor, that east-west highway that goes up and down the coast between Panama City and Mexico Beach. So that's where that calmest part of the storm
exactly.
is now.
And I'm hearing word that we do have some video showing the winds at Panama City. You can see it looked like something that was just picked up out of that dumpster and just flew off. You can see the palm trees. You can see the stuff in the foreground really whipping around a bit, and that's what a large part of the area is dealing with, and a large part of the panhandle stretching from the course northeastwardly toward Houston County area and Alabama and into the Georgia counties, into Seminole, Miller County, Early County are all going to be dealing with winds similar to what they're dealing with now, albeit maybe a little bit weaker. We're getting reports also of max winds at the Panama City, Florida State campus of 100 miles per hour. That's just right basically before you cross the bridge to Panama City Beach. Just to give you some perspective on the location of that site, but either way, 100-mile-per-hour winds there as far as gusts.
And we also have another wind gust measured at the Tyndall Air Force Base of 103 knots, which equates to a little over 115 miles per hour. So this is certainly within the realm of what you would expect. Those are Category 3 winds.
Yes, they are. So just as expected, we are dealing with those major hurricane force winds. We could feel some of those effects in our area. Right now, we're going to toss it over to Ben.
Yeah, you guys